Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk to you about a matter that is critical for your success and destiny, about the kind of people you should not allow in your life. Who you tolerate around you has the power to either propel you toward your purpose or pull you away from it. If you want to rise to the fullness of what you were created to be, there are certain types of people you must never tolerate. These individuals will drain your potential and weaken your foundation if you let them stay. The first group is the dream killers. The people you surround yourself with have the power to either elevate you or tear you down, and one of the most dangerous types of individuals you can ever encounter are the dream killers. These are the ones who often with subtle words or actions attempt to diminish your vision, undermine your purpose, and make you doubt the very goals you once felt so passionately about. Their impact is profound, and if you're not careful, they can derail you from the path that God has set before you. Dream killers come in many forms. Some of them are well-meaning friends or family members who, out of their own fear and insecurity, will tell you that your dreams are too big, too unrealistic, or too ambitious. They mask their negativity with concern or advice, but underneath it all, they are sowing seeds of doubt into your spirit. Perhaps they tell you that it's not practical to pursue that career path, or that you should play it safe, rather than take a risk that could propel you toward your true calling. They often use phrases like "be realistic" or "don't get your hopes up too high," but what they are really doing is projecting their own limitations onto you. Then there are those who are more overt in their attempts to tear down your vision. These individuals actively speak against your dreams, often out of envy or bitterness because they haven't pursued their own. You see, a dream killer is often someone who has settled for less in their own life, and when they see you reaching for something higher, it reminds them of their own unfulfilled potential. Instead of supporting your ambition, they seek to bring you down to their level. They criticize your plans, question your abilities, and highlight every possible obstacle that could get in your way. Their words may be laced with sarcasm or outright discouragement, but the impact is the same. They make you second-guess yourself and your purpose. One of the most dangerous things about dream killers is that they often sound reasonable. They may point out the risks, the challenges, and the odds stacked against you, and on the surface, their arguments can seem logical. But here's the problem: they don't see what you see. They don't have the vision God has given you. They don't carry the burden of the purpose He has placed on your heart. And because they don't have your vision, they cannot understand the depth of your calling. It's not their fault, but it is their limitation. The problem arises when you begin to listen to them and allow their limited perspective to influence your decisions. Dream killers have a way of making you feel like you're being too bold, too ambitious, or too unrealistic. But if you look through the pages of history, every great leader, every inventor, every innovator, and every world changer faced dream killers. They were told it couldn't be done, that it was impossible, that they were aiming too high. But they pressed on anyway because they understood that their vision wasn't given to everyone. It was given to them. They knew that if they allowed others to impose their limitations, they would never reach the heights they were destined for. What makes dream killers so effective is that they often speak to the fears and insecurities you already have within yourself. They echo the doubts you might secretly harbor, and they magnify them. Maybe you've questioned whether you're capable, whether you're prepared, or whether you're worthy of achieving the dream that's been placed in your heart. When dream killers speak, they seem to validate those doubts. And if you're not careful, you may begin to internalize their words as truth. This is why it's so critical to guard your heart and mind against their influence. You have to be vigilant about what voices you allow to speak into your life. It's important to recognize that dream killers are not always malicious. Sometimes they genuinely believe they are helping you by encouraging you to be cautious. But here's the truth: you cannot afford to let anyone diminish your vision. The path to fulfilling your purpose is rarely without obstacles, but the size of your dream is never the problem. God did not give you a dream that is too big for you to accomplish. What He has placed in your heart, He has also given you the capacity to fulfill. But if you allow the dream killers to plant doubt and fear in your mind, you may never take the first step toward what you were created to do. You must remember that not everyone is meant to understand your journey. Not everyone will believe in the dream that God has given you, and that's okay. You don't need everyone's approval. You just need the conviction in your spirit that what you're pursuing is aligned with your purpose. And once you have that conviction, you must protect it fiercely. Now let's talk about the manipulators, those people who subtly control and influence your life for their own selfish purposes. Manipulators are experts at disguising their intentions. They come into your life often wearing the mask of a friend, a mentor, or even a family member, making you believe that they care about your well-being. But beneath that surface is a desire to control your actions and decisions for their benefit. One of the most deceptive characteristics of manipulators is that they can appear to be genuinely supportive at first. They may seem like they're giving you advice or guidance, but their ultimate goal is to shape your choices to suit their agenda. Manipulators know how to play on your emotions. They will use your fears, insecurities, and even your ambitions to guide your steps in the direction they want you to go. And the more you allow them to have that control, the more power they will exert over your life. Let me tell you, manipulators are dangerous because they strip you of your independence and discernment. Instead of walking in the fullness of your purpose, you find yourself constantly second-guessing your decisions, asking yourself if you are doing the right thing or if you are pleasing the manipulator in your life. Over time, this erodes your confidence and weakens your ability to follow your own vision. You start living for someone else's benefit, not your own purpose. What makes manipulators so difficult to identify is that they often play the role of a trusted advisor. They make you feel like they have your best interests at heart, and they may even give you good advice from time to time. But if you look closely, you'll notice a pattern. Manipulators will never support decisions that truly empower you unless those decisions also serve their interests. They want to keep you dependent on them, making you believe that you need their approval or insight before moving forward. A manipulator's greatest tool is guilt. They know how to make you feel obligated to them, as though you owe them something for their time, advice, or help. They may remind you of how they've been there for you in the past, and they will use that as leverage to control your future actions. This guilt creates a cycle where you feel compelled to continue seeking their approval, afraid of disappointing them or losing their support. But the truth is, a manipulator's support is never genuine. It's conditional upon you doing what they want. In some cases, manipulators use flattery and praise to gain influence over you. They build you up, telling you how talented you are, how much potential you have, or how special you are to them. But this is all part of their strategy. Once they have built up your trust, they will begin to guide your decisions subtly, always framing their advice in a way that seems beneficial to you. Over time, you become reliant on their approval, craving their affirmation to validate your choices. This emotional dependency allows them to control you without you even realizing it. Another tactic manipulators use is fear. They may try to scare you into making decisions that serve their interests. They'll tell you that if you don't follow their advice, something bad will happen. They may instill fear of failure, fear of rejection, or fear of losing out on an opportunity. They create scenarios where the only safe option seems to be doing exactly what they suggest. But this is manipulation at its core, using fear to keep you bound to their control. Manipulators thrive on dependency, and they will do everything they can to keep you in a place where you feel like you need them. They want to be the ones you turn to for advice, the ones you lean on for emotional support, and the ones you rely on for guidance. But here's the key: true empowerment never comes from being dependent on someone else. It comes from standing in your own strength, using the wisdom and discernment God has given you, and walking confidently in your purpose. If you allow manipulators to remain in your life, they will slowly but surely drain you of your autonomy. You'll find yourself constantly questioning your own decisions, second-guessing your instincts, and living under the weight of someone else's control. But you were never created to be controlled by anyone but God. Your purpose, your vision, and your destiny are too important to be subject to the whims and desires of manipulators. So be vigilant. Recognize the signs of manipulation in your life, and don't be afraid to set boundaries. You must reclaim your independence, trust the vision that's been placed in your heart, and walk boldly in the direction that God is leading you. Manipulators may try to control you, but they have no power over you unless you give it to them. Take back your power, stand firm in your purpose, and refuse to be swayed by those who seek to manipulate your destiny for their own gain. Now, let's address the complainers, those individuals who constantly focus on what's wrong, finding fault in every situation, but never offering any solutions. Complainers thrive in negativity. They are quick to point out problems, but slow, if ever, to suggest any way to fix them. And if you're not careful, their mindset can begin to influence your thinking, dragging you down into a space where all you see are obstacles, challenges, and reasons why things won't work. Complainers operate from a place of pessimism. They have a habit of magnifying difficulties while minimizing opportunities. Whether it's a new idea, a project, or even a positive change in your life, they will find something negative to say. They'll point out why it might fail, how it could go wrong, and why you shouldn't get your hopes up. The issue with complainers is that they rarely see the possibilities, they only see the limitations. And if you spend too much time around them, their negative energy can influence your faith, your enthusiasm, and your visions. What makes complainers dangerous is their ability to turn small challenges into seemingly insurmountable barriers. Where you might see a stepping stone, they will see a stumbling block. Where you see a door of opportunity, they will see a closed gate. And it's not just their words that are damaging, it's the atmosphere of negativity they create. Their constant complaints can suddenly shift your mindset from being solution-oriented to problem-focused. Complainers love to dwell on the past and lament what went wrong. They'll remind you of past failures, setbacks, and disappointments, not to help you learn from them, but to keep you stuck in them. Their conversation is filled with phrases like "this never works, it's always been like this." Or "what's the point of trying instead of looking forward?" They are anchored in the frustrations of yesterday. And when you're trying to move toward a brighter future, the weight of their pessimism can slow you down, or worse, stop you from moving forward altogether. But here's what you need to understand. Complaining is not just an attitude, it's a mindset. It's a perspective on life that sees difficulties as reasons to stop rather than challenges to overcome. And the more you allow complainers into your circle, the more their mindset becomes contagious. You'll find yourself starting to look at life through their lens, seeing limitations where God has placed opportunities, doubting yourself where you once had confidence, and focusing on problems instead of solutions. The danger of surrounding yourself with complainers is that their mindset can lead to paralysis. You become so focused on what's wrong that you forget to take action. You begin to lose sight of the fact that obstacles are part of the journey, and instead you start believing that they're signs you should give up. Complainers will have you convinced that life is unfair, that things will never get better, and that there's no point in trying. But this is a deception. Every challenge you face is an opportunity for growth, for creativity, and for innovation. But if you let complainers fill your mind with negativity, you'll miss those opportunities. Another key characteristic of complainers is that they often resist change. They are comfortable with the way things are, even if it's not working, and any attempt to move forward is met with resistance. When you introduce a new idea, a new direction, or a new goal, the complainers will immediately start pointing out all the reasons why it won't work. They are stuck in a mindset of maintaining the status quo because change requires effort, and effort requires leaving behind the comfort of complaint. Instead of embracing the new, they would rather dwell in the old, even if the old is no longer serving them or you. Complainers are also infectious. When you're around someone who constantly finds fault, you begin to notice more faults yourself. It shifts your focus. What you pay attention to multiplies in your mind. If you're constantly hearing about what's wrong, what's missing, or what's impossible, your mind starts to adopt that perspective, and before long, you're complaining too. You start seeing the negative in your own life, in your work, and in your relationships. This is why it's so crucial to guard your environment. You cannot allow someone else's negative perspective to take root in your spirit. In life, you will always face challenges. No journey is without them. But the difference between those who succeed and those who don't is often not the size of the challenge, but the size of their response. Complainers respond to challenges with defeat, focusing only on the problems, but the victorious person sees challenges as stepping stones to greater things. And this is why you must distance yourself from complainers. If you allow their voice to be louder than the voice of faith, you will begin to doubt your ability to overcome. You'll start seeing barriers instead of breakthroughs. Complainers are not problem solvers, they are problem magnifiers. They offer no solutions, only excuses. And while they may seem harmless at first, their constant negativity can slowly erode your hope, your faith, and your passion. Surround yourself with people who believe in possibilities, who look for solutions, and who inspire you to rise above the challenges. Because in the end, it's not about the challenges you face, but the attitude you carry that will determine your success. Now let's discuss the envious, those who cannot celebrate your success and who harbor resentment when they see you prosper. Envy is one of the most destructive forces in relationships, and if not recognized, it can undermine your growth and progress. The envious person may appear friendly on the surface, but deep down they are uncomfortable with your advancement because it reminds them of their own lack or insecurities. Instead of encouraging you, they view your success as a threat, and their attitude toward you becomes a mixture of jealousy, bitterness, and rivalry. The envious person often starts off as someone close to you, perhaps a friend, family member, or colleague. At first, the envy might be subtle. They may offer a lukewarm congratulations when you achieve something significant, but their words will lack genuine enthusiasm. As time goes on, the envy may become more obvious. They'll downplay your accomplishments, make sarcastic remarks, or highlight your shortcomings rather than celebrate your victories. These are signs that their spirit is unsettled by your success. One of the main issues with envy is that it creates an atmosphere of competition where there should be collaboration. The envious person sees your achievements as a reminder of what they don't have. So instead of supporting you, they subtly or sometimes openly try to bring you down. They may spread rumors, sow seeds of doubt among others, or even try to sabotage your efforts. What you must understand is that envy is not just a feeling, it's an attitude that can manifest in actions meant to hinder your progress. Envy is also deceptive because it can be hidden behind smiles and polite words. An envious person might tell you they are happy for you, but the actions will reveal otherwise. They might refuse to acknowledge your progress publicly, avoid talking about your success, or distance themselves from you altogether. You might begin to feel tension in the relationship, but can't quite put your finger on why. It's because envy creates a silent competition in their mind where they view your advancement as their own setback. The dangerous thing about surrounding yourself with envious people is that they are rarely rooting for your continued growth. Their hearts are not aligned with your success, and as you continue to move forward, their discomfort only grows. They may start to criticize you behind your back, question your motives, or attribute your success to luck rather than your hard work or God's blessing. This subtle undermining is their way of coping with their internal sense of inadequacy. If you allow envious people to remain close to you, their negativity can seep into your spirit, making you feel guilty for your success or making you second-guess your achievements. Envy is also destructive because it distorts relationships. Instead of genuine friendship, envy creates rivalry. Instead of support, it breeds competition. You may find that your conversations with an envious person shift from meaningful connection to surface-level interactions where they are always comparing themselves to you. They'll highlight their own successes in an attempt to one-up you, or they'll downplay your accomplishments to make themselves feel better. This kind of toxic dynamic can drain your energy and distract you from your purpose. What's critical to understand is that envy often stems from insecurity. The envious person feels threatened by your success because it highlights something they feel is lacking in their own life. Instead of dealing with their own issues of self-worth or insecurity, they project those feelings onto you. Your success becomes a mirror reflecting their unfulfilled dreams, their missed opportunities, or their unresolved dissatisfaction with life. And rather than being inspired by your progress, they resent it because it reminds them of what they perceive they are lacking. It's important to remember that someone else's envy is not your responsibility. You cannot control how others feel about your progress or success. Your responsibility is to guard your heart and ensure that you do not allow their negativity to hinder your growth. If you find that someone in your life is consistently envious, it may be time to create some distance. You cannot afford to carry the burden of someone else's insecurity, especially when it begins to affect your peace and progress. The envious person will rarely celebrate your victories, but the truth is, your success is not contingent upon their approval or applause. You were created to thrive and to fulfill your God-given purpose, and that means you must rise above the opinions and feelings of others. Your journey is unique, and your success is a result of your faith, effort, and calling. Do not allow the envy of others to make you feel small or guilty for what you've achieved. Be mindful of the company you keep. The people in your inner circle should be those who genuinely celebrate your victories, who are excited about your growth, and who encourage you to keep pressing forward. Surround yourself with people who want to see you win, not people who secretly hope for your downfall. The envious person cannot walk with you into your next season because their heart is not aligned with your progress. They may be present for your struggles, but they are not equipped to celebrate your successes. Stay vigilant. Don't let envy creep into your relationships unnoticed. Recognize the signs early and protect yourself from the subtle sabotage it brings. Your destiny is too important to be weighed down by the envy of others. Keep your focus on the path ahead and be confident that your success is a reflection of your faithfulness to the vision and purpose you were given. Now let's focus on the users, people who only come into your life to take from you without ever giving back. Users are those individuals who drain your resources, energy, and time, but rarely, if ever, contribute anything meaningful to your life in return. They are experts at identifying what you can offer them, and they will take full advantage of your kindness, skills, and generosity until there's nothing left for you to give. Users are typically self-centered. They may appear charming or friendly at first, but their real motivation is to gain something from you, whether that's financial support, emotional comfort, or the benefits of your connections and influence. The problem with users is that they often disguise themselves as friends or allies. They know how to make you feel needed and important, but their affection is always conditional. As long as you are useful to them, they will stick around. The moment you can no longer provide what they want, they disappear. One of the most challenging aspects of dealing with users is that they exploit your good nature. They know you are generous, kind-hearted, and willing to help, so they take advantage of those traits. They may come to you with problems, needing advice, favors, or financial help, but when you need support, they are nowhere to be found. Users rarely reciprocate. Instead, they take and take while giving nothing back, leaving you feeling exhausted and unappreciated. Over time, having users in your life can lead to burnout. You'll find yourself constantly giving of your time, energy, and resources without ever receiving anything in return. This can drain not only your physical resources, but also your emotional and spiritual reserves. Users create one-sided relationships where the flow of support is only in their direction. While you're investing in them, they are simply collecting benefits without ever sowing back into the relationship. One of the key traits of a user is that they are never satisfied. No matter how much you give, they will always want more. They don't appreciate the sacrifices you make or the effort you put into helping them. Instead, they come back asking for more of your time, more of your energy, more of your resources. And because they have little regard for your well-being, they don't consider how their constant demands may be affecting you. To them, the relationship is transactional. They take what they need, and once they've gotten it, they move on until they need something else. Users are often skilled manipulators. They know how to make you feel guilty for not helping them or for setting boundaries. They may say things like, "I thought you were my friend," or "You're the only one who can help me," putting pressure on you to fulfill their needs. This emotional manipulation can make it difficult to say no, especially if you genuinely care about the person. But it's essential to recognize that true friendship is not one-sided. A healthy relationship is built on mutual support where both parties invest in each other. The danger of allowing users to stay in your life is that they will consume all of your time and energy, leaving you with little to pursue your own goals and dreams. You'll find yourself constantly distracted by their needs, constantly trying to help them solve their problems, while neglecting your own priorities. Users thrive on your distraction. As long as you are focused on meeting their needs, you won't have the time or energy to focus on your own growth and development. And this is how they limit your progress, by keeping you so busy catering to their demands that you can't move forward in your own life. Another key characteristic of users is that they tend to jump from person to person. Once they've drained one source of help, they move on to the next. They are opportunistic in nature, always looking for someone else who can fulfill their needs. If you pay attention, you'll notice that users often have a pattern of broken relationships. They've likely left behind a trail of people who were once close to them, but eventually realized that they were being taken advantage of. The user simply moves on to someone new, leaving behind damaged relationships in their wake. It's important to understand that users are not genuinely interested in building a meaningful connection with you. Their focus is on what they can get from the relationship, not on how they can contribute to it. And once you no longer serve their needs, they will distance themselves or even disappear altogether. This can be painful, especially if you've invested time, energy, and resources into the relationship, but it's a clear sign that the person was only there for selfish reasons. Recognizing users in your life requires self-awareness and discernment. You have to be able to see past the flattery, the emotional manipulation, and the constant demands to recognize the one-sided nature of the relationship. It's not easy to admit when someone you care about is only using you, but it's necessary if you want to protect your energy and your purpose. You cannot afford to let users drain you to the point where you have nothing left for yourself. Setting boundaries with users is crucial. You need to protect your resources, your time, and your energy. It's okay to help others, but not at the expense of your own well-being. Learn to say no without feeling guilty. Understand that you are not obligated to meet everyone's needs, especially those who only seek to take from you without giving anything in return. You were created for a purpose, and you cannot fulfill that purpose if you are constantly pouring into people who have no intention of pouring back into you. The users in your life may try to make you feel selfish for setting boundaries, but remember, it's not selfish to protect your well-being. You are called to live a life of purpose, and that requires discernment in who you allow into your circle. Don't let users derail your progress by draining your resources and distracting you from your God-given destiny. Surround yourself with people who uplift and support you and who give just as much as they receive. Now, let's consider the negative influences, those individuals who consistently lead you away from your values, purpose, and spiritual alignment. Negative influences are not always obvious. They often seem like friends, colleagues, or even mentors who appear supportive, but their influence gradually pulls you in directions that contradict your principles, integrity, and long-term goals. Negative influences subtly and sometimes overtly steer you toward decisions that compromise your character or hinder your growth. Their impact is often seen in the small choices you make, the things you start to tolerate, the values you begin to bend, and the standards you slowly lower. It may start with harmless suggestions or casual remarks, but over time, their influence can erode the very foundation of your integrity. These are people who, whether intentionally or not, plant seeds of doubt, disobedience, or rebellion in your heart, leading you off course from the path you were meant to walk. One key trait of negative influences is their subtle manipulation of your priorities. They may encourage you to focus more on worldly success, material gain, or short-term pleasures, rather than on the things that matter most: your purpose, your relationships, and your spiritual walk. These influences may not outright tell you to abandon your values, but they create an environment where compromise seems acceptable. They'll rationalize questionable decisions, downplay the consequences, and make it seem as though your convictions are overly restrictive or outdated. Negative influences often disguise their influence under the guise of progress or fun. They'll tell you that everyone is doing it, or that you're missing out if you don't follow their lead. They present a version of success or happiness that is based on external validation, whether it's wealth, status, or pleasure, while ignoring the deeper fulfillment that comes from living in alignment with your higher calling. Their influence is dangerous because it's often masked in what seems like good advice, but their counsel leads you further from your true purpose and identity. What makes negative influences particularly damaging is that their impact is gradual. They rarely demand that you make a drastic change all at once. Instead, it's the little compromises that accumulate over time, the small decisions to prioritize convenience over conviction, to choose comfort over growth, or to pursue personal gain at the expense of integrity. These gradual shifts in your values might not seem significant at first, but they eventually lead to major deviations from the life you are called to live. Another characteristic of negative influences is their ability to create doubt about your own beliefs and decisions. They might question your goals, your values, or your faith, not in a direct confrontation, but through subtle comments or suggestions. They'll make you second guess whether you're being too rigid or too idealistic. They may say things like, "Are you sure that's what you really want?" Or maybe you're overthinking it. Over time, this can chip away at your confidence, causing you to question whether the path you're on is the right one. The danger of allowing negative influences into your life is that they divert your attention away from what is truly important. They will encourage you to chase after things that are fleeting and superficial, rather than focusing on long-term fulfillment and growth. They'll push you to seek validation from the world rather than staying rooted in your own values and the purpose for which you were created. And once you start following their lead, you may find yourself on a path that looks successful on the outside but feels empty on the inside. Negative influences can also create an atmosphere of discontentment. They'll make you feel as though what you have is never enough, whether it's your career, your relationships, or your achievements. They foster a mindset of constant comparison, encouraging you to measure your worth based on what others have or what society deems as success. This can lead to a never-ending pursuit of more money, more recognition, more possessions, while neglecting the inner peace and fulfillment that comes from living in alignment with your true values. It's important to recognize that negative influences are often themselves lost or disconnected from their own purpose. They may not intentionally be trying to lead you astray, but their own lack of direction or fulfillment causes them to pull others into their mindset. Misery loves company, and those who are disconnected from their own purpose often feel more comfortable when others are equally off course. They may not realize the harm they're doing, but their influence is still toxic, slowly leading you away from your calling and toward a life of distraction, compromise, and dissatisfaction. Negative influences also often lack accountability. They will encourage you to make decisions that benefit them or align with their worldview, but when things go wrong, they are the first to distance themselves from the consequences. They'll say, "I never told you to do that," or "That was your decision." They're quick to influence, but slow to take responsibility when their advice leads you into trouble. This lack of accountability is a clear sign that they are not invested in your well-being, only in how your choices serve their agenda. Protecting yourself from negative influences requires discernment and courage. You must be vigilant about who you allow to speak into your life and influence your decisions. Not everyone who gives advice is qualified to guide you, and not everyone who seems supportive has your best interests at heart. You must be willing to assess whether the people around you are helping you stay aligned with your purpose or whether they are pulling you away from it. Setting boundaries with negative influences is essential. You have to be firm in your convictions and clear about your values. If someone's influence is leading you down a path that contradicts who you are or what you believe, it's time to distance yourself from them. This doesn't mean you have to cut everyone out of your life, but you do need to be selective about whose opinions and guidance you prioritize. Surround yourself with people who encourage you to stay true to your values, who inspire you to grow, and who celebrate the person you are becoming, not those who lead you into compromise, distraction, or disobedience. Negative influences may come in many forms, but they all share one trait: their influence pulls you away from your higher calling. You cannot afford to let their subtle manipulation or misguided advice derail your progress. Stay focused on your purpose, guard your values, and choose wisely the voices you allow to guide your path. Thank you.